What do you hope to achieve, the party hopes to see achieved from this budget speech? What do you think is what's
Well, the budget speech is not happening. And this is an outcome of a coalition government where the parties that are in the coalition government have not supported or agreed with the budget proposals.
Do you think Donald Trump precipitated this crisis? Would this have happened without Donald Trump?
I don't think it's got anything to do with Donald Trump. It's got to do with a domestic budget, a South African budget. It's a lesson to be learned by National Treasury. You don't just arrive on the morning of budget day and present a budget to 10 different parties that signed up to co-govern and expect that we're just going to accept what you're proposing. National Treasury seems to conduct themselves as if it is business as usual, that they can just present a budget which tags on an inflationary increase for each department without considering whether those departments are adding value. And then when they see that they have a deficit, just decide to increase taxes or VAT on South Africans. So we're dead against an increase in VAT. I mean, VAT disproportionately affects people the lower your income is. What hasn't happened is National Treasury didn't consult with all the political parties before going into this process, didn't look at the statement of intent that we all signed when we agreed to form a government of national unity, and there in that document identifies what the priorities are. Those priorities should have been funded, and anything that's not a priority in terms of this government of national unity should have been defunded in order to make sure that we don't burden South Africans with tax increases. I think it's a good thing that this budget was sent back so that the parties in the government of national unity can start to understand, all of them, including us, what co-governing means. So it's got nothing to do with Donald Trump. It is an internal matter where our budget doesn't balance and Treasury was lazy and Treasury didn't consult properly.
But I assume if you don't want to raise taxes, you will have to cut spending.
Yes.
How do you see with good, what do we have to cut?
So we have to, there's a process called allocative efficiency or zero-based budgeting. We must go through every single department's budget and look at the projects or the programs that they've got on their budget that are having no impact for South Africans. And then we must decide to defund that project or that program and shift the budget to something that will have an impact for South Africans. The focus must be on turning our economy around and on making sure that starving South Africans are not actually starving. So anything in the budget that doesn't address or doesn't have an impact on South Africans' lives must be reevaluated. So we need a zero-based budgeting approach to this budget, and that will start to identify the programs and the projects that add no value, cost a lot of money, and which every single year Treasury just adds an inflationary increase on. So there's lots of things that where we can cut spending. Certainly, international travel. Excessive protection for executives, members of parliament. Do we need provinces? I mean, the provinces cost 30, 40 billion rand a year. Do we need them? Do they serve a purpose?
Hola, welcome to my life. If you're looking for a party, stop on by. Fiesta, rest up and repeat. Yeah, it's getting caliente, feel the heat. Don't stop the beat. Turn down for what, this is all you need. Yeah, I love it when I see them looking at me, cause I'm putting on a show for the world to see. So, let's go, let's go.
South Africa is at a point now with a government of national unity and in a very tight fiscal space, in a global environment which is not very easy to navigate. And we have to make hard choices. And so, yes, it includes looking at, do we have the right number of members of parliament? What are the benefits that the members of the executive don't need? And do we need provinces? Do we need 257 municipalities? Can we amalgamate municipalities, make them more self-reliant financially? So there's lots of hard work to be done, and that work has not been done.
The average South African parliamentarian earns 22 times the minimum wage in South Africa, as opposed to the UK where it's like 4 times the minimum wage.
Well, our minimum wage is obviously also too low. So let's not, our minimum wage is not a living wage. Parliamentary salaries are maybe 22 times. You're probably right if I do the maths quickly in my head. The entire South African government structure needs to be relooked at. And I would start, and I'm a member of the provincial parliament, with looking at whether we need provinces. We have 9 premiers, we have 19 members of the executive. They all earn large salaries, and we've got duplicate departments of health, of education, of social services.
Just help us understand that for our viewers also, what does that mean? So if you get rid of the departments, the provinces, How does that look like? What do you see
So some functions get devolved to municipalities. We make municipalities more larger geographically. So some functions get devolved to metros and large municipalities, and some functions be delivered by central government through offices around the country. But I think we really need to analyze the role that provinces play in the developmental state and whether their cost has a benefit.
Going forward, goods expectations, and how do you see reversing the country's decline?
Well, I mean, reversing the country's decline means focusing on three things: our economy, our unemployment, and our inequality. So we have to, if we don't focus on those three things, our country will continue to decline. We must address poverty. Poverty must be addressed by creating more jobs. Jobs are going to take a very long time to create. And in the meantime, we need to provide a basic income to those people, 18 million South Africans who don't have an income and who are able to work but not able to find work.